Welcome, everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available in podcast form. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. We welcome your questions and comments. Hit us up at DJ@ArtistFirst.com. And here they are, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
and tonight's 3-round bout. I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
Tonight we're talking about we're in a fighting mood.
Oh my!
Fight!
Oh my!
Oh my! You know, sometimes the planets spin, and you know what's in my Metamucil. I get all kinds of uppity.
Something set you off, dear.
Something sets me off. But then they give me the drugs, and I'm okay after that.
Oh dear!
But luckily, I avoided my maximum dose tonight, so I'm in a fighting mood. Anyway, no, tonight. You know, we thought we often go through a bunch of topics before we start the show in the afternoon. And I'll give you a little inside baseball for 20 seconds. Margaret and I, we talk all the time, just like this, when we're not on the radio. And sometimes a pithy thought will come to one of us, Margaret, and she'll say to me, we should talk about whatever it is, X, Y, Z. And then my job is to write that down quickly before I forget. And then we go over them later, and we'll have a couple dozen things, and we'll look at them, and something will strike us. And then other times it just like falls out of the sky like a giant spaceship full of aliens. But tonight we had thought about this topic some time back, and tonight it seemed appropriate. So tonight's topic is the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us, I will say, are intimately familiar with fighting regardless of the odds.
Yes.
In fact, it's the old Indiana Jones. It's the old Han Solo line. Same actor. Never tell me the odds, because it doesn't matter.
Right.
And the corollary to that, life, as we often talk about on the Soul of the Everyman, because there it is. Life is a series of challenges. It's not that every part of life is somehow onerous, or every part of your life is going to somehow have some trouble, but all of our lives are a journey through parts of the journey which seem easy, and everything's going well, and then there are parts of the journey where things are not going well, and things are challenging, and there are some parts where it's harrowing and some parts where it's deadly serious. And through every one of those challenges, you as an individual, or you as a family unit, are called upon to to persevere. And in some ways, you're given the choice. The choice of what to do in this particular situation. And, through the many challenges that we faced, when they become existential threats on you or on your children, those siren songs of, just give up, or just, it's too much. That it's impossible. The old never tell me the odds. Well, they'll tell you the odds. If you're talking about a diagnosis of cancer, they're going to tell you all the odds, and they'll cheerfully tell you have X number of days to live, or X number of weeks to live, as though they were God on high, and you at that moment have a choice to make, and the choice is, what do you do? And what you and I often do is we will fight. We will fight against that situation regardless of what the odds may be.
True. But the first response is to take stock, to understand the situation in its broad terms. And whenever it is your child, and for the sake of the child and the life that you have been given responsibility for, you must stop and ground and view, to take in all of it. And that's usually when most people go into overwhelm. Because if they stand there and they go, well, this is too much, I can't, how am I going to, and they go immediately into panic because they've never faced a situation like that before. And it's very easy to give into fear, especially fear of the unknown, things you've never done, things you've never thought about. But to stop and take stock of what is in front of you is usually the first step. And it is absolutely demanded of you. The ones that fall into a basket, and we have seen those that have fallen into a basket, basically just want to say, well, no, I don't want to deal with this. Somebody else deal with this. You people over there, you make this decision. But the truth is, when you're in charge of a little life that is your child, the responsibility for the decisions lies with you. So it takes courage to lift up that burden and begin the process of choosing the direction that you're going.
Absolutely. And even if it's not your child, and even if it's not so existential, I think people even give up easier with less important things. If you have a dream, let's just say, let's make it a little bit more relatable. A lot of people say, well, I would like to do X, Y, or Z. I'd like to own my own business. Let's say that's a fairly common dream. And then they will go into that, and not to toot our own horns, but we've done that too. And you say, I'd like to own my own business. I'd like to be my own boss. And you start that process. I think it's easy to start things, or easy certainly to want to start things. But immediately the challenges will arise. There are difficult things about any sort of endeavor like that. You're your own boss, but that means you have to do everything. So that desire requires commitment, and then the commitment requires a struggle. You have to fight for what you would like to get. You have to commit. When you back up to what a fight is, oftentimes you don't choose your fights. They come to you. You'll get attacked. But in some cases, that's a sort of an aggression. What I'm talking about, the fight I'm talking about, is more of a determination, an internal commitment, which is a promise between you and you that you're going to do something. You're going to accomplish, or you're going to focus. Perhaps is the best way. And the initial thing you said about taking it all in is part of the focus part of a fight. In an aggressive fight, when somebody attacks you or you're fighting against somebody, your focus, your attention narrows. You become focused on what needs to happen in this situation right now, the situational awareness. But prior to that, you have to be aware. if you're trading, once you're in the throes of a struggle, you're trading blows with whatever you're struggling against, and that's tactics. But in the beginning, it's awareness. It's an energy commitment that gets you into the proper alignment of your energy into that fight. That same training is also available, or that same focus is also necessary if you're just going to try to focus your energies on a dream or on a desire. So again, something a little bit more relatable. People don't struggle necessarily physically with people all the time. People thank God, don't have to struggle with a cancer diagnosis. These are unusual and intense, acute fights. But struggling with the idea of doing something like, accomplishing a dream, you have to fight. You have to understand that dream, that idea, is going to require a step forward of both commitment and I'll say the word which always gets people into trouble. It is a step. It is truly a leap of faith. Part of fighting is not knowing, as you said, in the face of the unknown, is the courage to actually, where am I now? Where I want to be. The odds say you take a step, you fall to the bottom of the chasm. You take the step anyway as part of your commitment to this struggle.
I think there are perspective shifts that have to happen. The first one, the overview point, is what I would term what the war is about.
Yeah.
And then you have to focus in your perspective and concentrate on the battle. And there are many battles in a war.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to state unequivocally what your objective is. And speaking for a diagnosis where you have a choice, do you wish to live or die? That's usually that's the baseline of it. For a diagnosis of an illness, do you wish to overcome the illness and be well or not? And that, usually most people say, no, I want to be well. But being well, this is where you have to begin to take stock. If your objective is to become well, then it may be that you have to change a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I mean by being able to take it in. And then the battle begins on the changes that must happen in your life. So once the objective is there, then it is much easier to concentrate on your battles. All right. And then to begin to discover exactly how committed you are to this. Some people do not want to change certain things to obtain the objective of being well.
Well, and I think that's an incredibly significant point. Part of, maybe all of the battle, is the battle of you against you. And the you against you battle I'm talking about is one you just mentioned, is that your objective, let's say it is to become well, or it is to start a business, it'll require you to change. It may require you to lose certain things. It may require you to modify parts of you that you thought were done. I'm always comfortable things. Things that you perhaps mistakenly had identified as your core being. And so I think part of the fight, especially when you're in the tactical part of the fight, the execution of the fight, the battle itself, a fight strips you down. It strips away illusion. It strips away in the laser focus of a battle. and in the broad objective of the actual, let's say, call it, to use the same analogy, the same terminology, called the war. In that broad objective of the war and in the laser focus of the battle, you have to strip down. You have to say, what is really me? And if you're at an existential level, it strips all the way down to what is truly my being state, not all the illusion and stuff that I pack on top of it. I think to the degree of the importance of the fight is to the degree that you learn ground truth about what you'll do to accomplish the objective. Go ahead.
You're going to have to know yourself.
Yeah.
At that point, without the illusions, without the storytelling, without giving up the goal. It's always going back to what your objective is. If the objective is this, and it's truly this, and you're committed to it, in your soul, in your heart, this is where I am to be, then everything else fades. Doesn't matter. That's when it doesn't matter, when it don't tell me the odds steps in. Okay, that's not the broad picture, but that's right in that moment, because the objective is there. And you won't be distracted by the little things that the mind wants to wave in front of you. Say, here, bring your attention back over here. I have a plan. And in the moment of battle, there's no such thing. You have an overall plan. But when the troops go in and do the battle, it's a hand-to-hand and moment-to-moment thing. There's no real, okay, I'm planning out this. I'll hit here, and then he'll block there, and then I'll go in this way. It's like, no, you've either trained for it or you haven't.
Yeah.
And the mind has nothing to do with it, because if you've noticed, you can't catch certain things if you're thinking about it. You catch them automatically. Your fastest reflexes are when you're not thinking. The minute you think, it slows down.
Yeah.
And that's usually when your opponent knows they have an opportunity. It's the same when you're in any battle. You've already committed to how this must be. This is your objective. In this particular battle, I am committed to that outcome. So therefore, poof, the rest of it goes. The only time it matters is if that mind part comes in and says, oh no, don't you remember? You really like that. You can't give that
up. Before we go past this too fast, I love, there's three things that are very interesting there. One is when you talk about objectives, we're really talking about a visualization. You know, you have to, you know, in a true warrior visualizes the goal as a gestalt. It's a thing that no longer informs anymore. You set your goal, and then you execute, and then the execution again is all based on top of training. And it no longer, you're not modifying the goal in the middle. You know, you're not
right.
You're past that point.
Your only focus is victory.
Your only focus is victory. And then I want to just pull back a little bit, because I think that's hard enough. I think people already have trouble even committing to the fight and carrying it through and committing their resources. But there's something you learn as you fight and as you commit and as you visualize and as you have your goal. The thing that you will learn is that you lose. And in losing a fight, there are a couple of things that you will learn. One is that you may still have the objective and you may still continue to fight. That's a new commitment to the overall objective.
What you're talking.
Let me finish. But part of the wisdom that you learn if you continue towards your objective is that eventually you realize that the objective doesn't matter anymore. And the fight, the commitment, the prosecution of the resources becomes really the whole. It really becomes the whole. It becomes the objective in essence. The commitment to fight and the commitment to continue to fight, regardless of outcome, is a higher level of this type of struggle, because outcomes are why we go into a fight in the beginning. But what you learn is that outcomes don't matter. The fight, the focus, the commitment, the execution is what actually informs and actually strips down to the being.
Okay. What you're talking about is if you're losing the battle or if you're losing the war. You have to put it in some type of perspective.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say is that if you look at life, we all want to live. Nobody lives forever. People oftentimes will say, "Well, I'm doing X, Y, or Z so I can live longer." But in fact, the journey of life and the struggle of life is the process through which you become informed. The end goal never changes for anybody, but the process and the struggle are the important parts.
You mean we all die? The end. You're saying that we all die.
Well,
I want to be really clear here because there seems to be a few fuzzy areas for me.
What I mean to say is that the commitment to fight on, regardless of outcome, whether a battle is won or lost, becomes immaterial. The material thing is that you have this challenge. In overcoming the challenge, in fighting on regardless. To use our own example, Christopher died, but he never lost. His journey was a series of commitments towards that end of quote unquote living, but he never lost. The victory was not in the original goal. The original goal was if we could cure him and bring him back to health. The victory was in the actual continued fight. So fighting on regardless of outcome, became in essence the actual the actual thing that was learned, the actual thing that stripped everything away in all of us.
Okay. During this period of time, the apparent outcome is that he is cured, okay? But internally, and what I do with every single one of my children is, Lord, whatever is best for them, because this is beyond me, and I don't understand it. And speaking as a little human mother, I would rather they not go through any of this. But I trust, and whatever is going to be for the good of them, it may be a soul lesson. I don't know, and frankly, I'd rather not know. I will engage in the fight on a day-to-day basis, clear and clean, without any prejudice, because I understand that it is their fight, not mine, and they must make their own decisions. So my overview was that.
Yeah.
The next step was, as a human, we will endeavor to come to a point where he is cured, absolutely cured. And then we engaged in battles daily, hourly.
Right. No, and the process of fighting, regardless, the process of that commitment changed you, changed him, changes everybody who does it. The change that you go through because you decide to fight, to
live.
Well, exactly, to live. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. Inartfully, my larger point is that life is the battle. I mean, Longfellow, this is the battle this is the bivouac of life, the battle of life that he's talking about here. Life is the battle that we probably don't know we're in, but you find it at these acute points, at the acute point of a diagnosis, at the acute point of some goal that you want to try to accomplish. You realize that life is a battle. You commit towards the thing that you want to have happen. But I think we all learn in victory, temporary victory, or temporary defeat or victory, whatever it may be, we all learn that the important part was the fight to get there. Even if you accomplish the goal and you're a tremendous success, what you value were the things that you did on the way there more than the actual accomplishment. The thing at the end isn't the reward. Just as, the end of every life isn't the reward. The reward is the living. And, I believe, the information that you gather into your being, which we've all talked about this in the past, that's your song. That's what you're bringing back. That's you're bringing back from incarnation here through the whole struggle of life, which seems long, but it's brief and ephemeral. And then you bring back all that, what we brought back, what we will bring back, what Christopher brought back, was the fight on through every challenge, regardless of outcome, because the world from the outside would say he lost. He didn't do this, didn't do that, couldn't do this, couldn't do that.
We failed.
We failed.
Okay, that is the judgment of the world.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Yet his song, if I say so myself, was a sweet manifesto of a masterpiece of a life which touched and continues to touch so many others, even to this day, 30 years later, that this judgment of failure, okay, yeah, he failed. But the actual song he brought back, and each of us, in fighting regardless of what happens, the song that you bring back, the story that you bring back, remember the show we had about Tecumseh, the song that you bring back is glorious and magnificent, and it's your soul song. So what I'm trying to say, and we're reaching the end of this half hour, but what I'm trying to say is that the commitment to a goal and the realization of it, or the failure of it, it seems like that's the thing to do, but it's the song you sing on the way, and what you learn about yourself, and the stripping down of yourself to being and getting rid of all the illusion that you bring back. That's your ultimate goal, is to bring back the experience of here and now, from incarnation back to spirit.
Mm-hmm. It is the purpose of life. And since we've reached our break point, we're going to go back to the studio, and we'll meet you guys on the other side.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Taking God on Patrol is a first-person account of the world of law enforcement from the perspective of a Christian police officer in the 4th largest city in America. From speeding car chases to the crossing of the thin blue line, author Mark S. Cariner seeks to find God's biblical truth in a behind-the-scenes look at law enforcement. And check out Mark's newest book, The Tactical Heart. Both are available at Amazon.com.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is book 1 of the adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time. The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side, as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
Thanks for joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Let's get back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Z-Man. And tonight we're talking about fighting. We got the Foo Fighters still in here. Don't get no fight started here. But in fact, I think what you ended with was profound. In essence, the idea of prosecuting the fight, and call it the fight of life, because life is a series of challenges. Some are small and some are existential, and there's everything in between. The important thing is the fight. The important thing is the journey. And before we go too far past it, I just want to make sure that we get our boss quote in. This is a quote from a gentleman by the name of Napoleon Hill, whom I'm not familiar with. Are you? But the quote is simple and it's somewhat profound. It says, "Victory is always possible for the person who refuses to stop fighting." And it sounds trite, or it sounds sort of like, well, a duh. But it's the key word for me in this, Margaret, is refuses, because refuses is a choice. And it implies that there's always a choice, and there always is a choice with every challenge, or with every, as you mentioned in the previous half hour, when you're in the cancer wards and battling, it's an hour by hour, perhaps minute by minute, new choice. Do you want to continue fighting? And you're always, people say, well, how could I say no? Well, no, you can always say no. You can always give up. That's what makes it a challenge. The challenge is that you have the will. You're given the choice. And sometimes you're given the choice where it looks like, well, in essence, what is said to you, either in your head or however it's brought to you, that you have no chance. There's nothing you can do that will get you out of this. You are going to lose, 100,000% going to lose. Do you want to keep fighting? It's like they give you this, they say there's no way you can win. And at that point, you can still say, I want to continue fighting, and you've realized something. And if you go by it too quickly, you don't realize it at the moment. Looking back, you may. You realize that it doesn't matter if you lose, that losing and winning outcomes don't matter. The two things that matter are the choice and what you choose to do. You're given the choice, and those two things, sometimes people conflate them. I had a choice. Well, yeah, you're given the choice, and then you have to make it. It sounds like the same thing, but it's not. You're given the choice. It's a gift. Here's the moment of now. What do you want to do now? And then you get to choose. And before they'll tell you all the odds, you've got no chance. You're going to lose. Everything you want is completely dead, burned, gone. Don't worry about it. Do you want to do? Do you want to keep fighting? And you're like, well, what kind of choice is that? And you realize if you get there, then it doesn't matter. The outcome doesn't matter.
Coming back to yourself at that point. You're not in the realm of statistics or the mental analyses of your problem. But you come back to yourself and you realize,
yes.
So do you wish to be in the realm that was created for you in terms of these are your stats and these are the possibility and these are the problems and da-da-da-da, which is a world that you can enter by simply engaging in those thought processes? Or do you disengage from that and say, I live every moment. And that you're giving me is a thought process. I choose not to engage in that. Doesn't mean that you're going to choose foolishly, mind you. But you can acknowledge it. But understand that living must be chosen because the default process is dying.
There's something so important you just said. The judgment of others that you're doing something foolish because they say, you can't win. There's no way. Why would you continue to fight? You must be stupid. You must not be. You must be pretending that it's not there. That the reality isn't this. That isn't real. This is foolish. You can't win. And the problem is they beg the question. The begging point they are is that, well, if there's no way for you to win, why play? Why continue to the next moment of living? And you said the answer, and people don't realize it, that the foolish the judgment of foolishness is a judgment of a very small mental aspect, which unfortunately, because of the way the mind works, people blow up into being all of you. But the vastness that is you, the consciousness which encompasses the mental and encompasses the emotional and encompasses the ephemeral and the soul and the incarnation, the vastness of you, the existence of the next moment and the availability of the choice to be and to continue being, it doesn't matter that it's foolish, because that's an inconsequential, it's a non-word for a being. Beings aren't foolish. Beings just are. And to continue to choose is the essence of being. The next moment, I will choose. The next moment, I will choose. You manifest in your words and in your thoughts, in your choices. The next moment. Foolish, putting a judgment on it is to cram all that being into the tiniest of tiny boxes. And you can feel that. You can feel that they're throwing these words on you, and it almost becomes a distraction. You're going, okay, that's great. Are you done? I got some being to do, and you're like eh. As you said, that the sound you made, okay. Are you done? Flapping your gums? I got some being to do, and that's where you get to. That is. I hesitate to call it the victory, because it doesn't really matter that way, but that is the victory of being disassociated from outcome.
Detached from outcome.
Detached, that's the word, yes.
When you understand that every moment is a choice between living and dying, and we've heard people say these things to be dramatic, okay? But to distill it down, to understand that every choice you make is between living or dying. There is no on the fence. Maybe I'm living, maybe I'm dying. No.
Yeah, it's true.
A little bit dead, a little bit alive.
A little bit pregnant, things like that.
Things like that, they don't exist.
They don't exist.
They don't.
They don't.
And that's where you understand that the reasoning of the mind steps in and tries to let me persuade you into this little bit of death and a little bit of life. It's like part of you sits there and goes, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any visceral sense. Your being state lives. And it doesn't understand, what do you mean a little bit alive or a little bit dead? This compromise thing. It's like, no. Every choice is between living and dying. So in the moment when you have great odds against you, and everything is saying death, 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 you look at them and you're like, well, there you are, mouthing death at me.
Right.
But what does that have to do with this moment right now? I see the possibilities. I'm not slow or stupid or demented in some way, because it doesn't fit into your box of reason. But life is calling. And we've decided to answer. And when you answer that call of life, your choices are always of living. What do we do so that we may live in this next moment? Or do we have to hold and be still to have the next moment? Understand that the possibilities are there. The one thing that we would always say in those cancer wards is they're giving us all these odds of treatment working or not working. Your odds of this working are such and such. And what's the outcome? You may live, you may die. So how is that any different from like before we were diagnosed with this?
Right.
You may live or you may die.
Right.
You're not in control. And that's usually what scares most people into wanting to listen to that mental chatter.
Because it's a siren song of control. And I think if we backed up just a little bit, because just to make it just a tiny bit more relatable, because people will say, you can say, well, that's, you're in a cancer ward, that's you, and it's very, very easy to get pigeonholed to say, well, that's those people. That doesn't happen to everybody. It doesn't. You're right. But the important thing that we can distill back is that, in fact, every challenge, everything in your life, people will tell you the mental spin on it. Oh, you don't want to do that. The tax implications alone. Or, oh gosh, if you do that, you'll be bankrupt and you're going to lose everything and blah, blah, blah. So there's all this mental churn on every part. And the opinions, whether they're voiced by others or whether you tell them to yourself inside your head, the opinions of the mind, the mental, is all about that. It's all about, if you could be risking something bad could happen, something this and that, and all that is a tiny, tiny part of you. The vastness of you, once you understand, and in these places that are points of decision, really every point is a point of decision, but when you learn something about yourself, that the detachment of outcome is really a realization of the fact that you don't know what's going to happen next, that you shouldn't expect that you will know. You can think, well, it could be, but no matter what, the moment requires you to have the choice and then to make it. Choice, make it. Live, die are the two big poles, but it's be or spin, or the wasting of your ability to be in the mental spin of, like the tax implications, my accountant says, are not a being state anymore. That's a spin state. That's a wasting your energy state. Once you strip that away, you realize that those outcomes are nothing more than vapor written on smoke. Nothing. They don't mean anything. The only thing that means anything is the commitment to the fight. And the fight is, will I be in the next moment towards whatever it is I want, and commit myself to it, and fight on, and realize that the fight is that the goal doesn't matter, that the odds don't matter. It's the fight that matters. It's the being into the next now.
It's the life that matters. I have a question. And this is something that you need to ask yourself when you are in this kind of battle. And I'm not talking just about a diagnosis where it could be a cancer or a major ailment of some kind, but in your moment of battle, your conflict, ask, do you want to live another's idea of life? People will tell you what life is supposed to be or how you should be living your life. Do you want to live their concept of life? Or do you want to live the life that is within you? Because that's where the fight actually lays. Are you fighting for an expression of your own life? Or are you fighting for someone else's idea, concept of what life should be? And the interesting thing is, when you try to live somebody else's concept, you wind up not feeding your life and taking a step towards death.
Or certainly, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. That the mental spin is someone else's life or someone else's opinion on what you should do. Even if it sounds like your voice saying it, it isn't a being state. It's a could be, should be, want to do, could have had, odds this, odds that. All that is...
it's the voice that says, well, I should be further along than this. I shouldn't be here.
Exactly.
Okay, and that is someone else's concept of your life.
Right.
That is not your life. Your life, when you touch into it, doesn't have those restraints. You have to understand that those become restraints on your being, your life's energy. It's trying to contain you into this neat little ball. And that's not who you are.
It's such an important thing. We go back a little bit to Tolle. It's the same thing. These voices, these judgment voices, or these voices which tell you, well, you can't do that. I mean, that's too risky, or that's going to cause this, or that's going to, or there's no chance that you're going to live till tomorrow. Why bother? Why you can't continue living if I tell you there's no choice. These are all those other voices. They're other people's voices that sound like yours. They're in your head, or they're actual other people's voices telling you that you're a fool. And the choice to ignore them is such an important thing. It becomes the gateway through which you exit this tiny box, and you realize that you are a vast being, a consciousness, which contains all of these, let's say, other voices, but doesn't. This is a small part of you that needs to be. You need to realize how small it is, and in realizing it, you break out of it. And then people say, well, you're just a crazy person, running around into walls. The voices will tell you that. They'll tell you that you're wrong, that you're crazy, that you've got to listen to me because this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And then they'll even say this, Margaret, I told you so, when it does happen. And the I told you so's are their power trip. You mentioned it before, and I wanted to get back to it, but here it is. All that spin of telling you how to live your life is their power trip, because they feel powerful in being that parasitic voice that makes you live the life they want you to live.
I always handled it this way. Listen to all this negativity, all the bad things that can happen, and it's like, why try for tomorrow?
Right.
Why? All these odds are against you. And I would always ask, so we give up, we stop, and then what happens? You wait in a corner to die? Is that the life you want me to embrace? That usually stops them in their tracks, because they have no alternative. That's the other thing. There is nothing that you can offer. All you're doing is breaking down things that you see, but you're not on the cutting edge of life where you actually bleed. You're somewhere past that point, believing that somehow you are on the cutting edge, that you know. It's like, No.
I mean, that goes right to the end of that Longfellow poem. The same one, where it says, "With a heart for any fate." Let's be up and doing with a heart for any fate, because that's the key. Is that the heart for any fate in the Longfellow poem, which I can't quote and you probably can, means that you continue to fight. Any fate is any outcome. Any outcome of your struggle doesn't matter. With a heart for any fate, which means it doesn't matter. The heart part is, in essence, your heart, your being state, your heart state. Doesn't matter about outcomes.
The next two lines are the telling point.
I knew you would remember them. Go right ahead.
With a heart for any fate, still achieving,
yep,
still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait.
And that is Longfellow was a genius. He encompassed our whole hour in that two sentences. The heart for any fate, and to learn to labor, learn to do, or to be, as you said, still, to choose, and don't let any other voice tell you that its plan for your life is more important than your life. Or your being. Your being is vaster than outcomes, and your being is here to live regardless of outcome, regardless of fate. And once you've been stripped down to that, you are indestructible. They want to be powerful by telling you what to do. Your power is so incredible that it frightens people, because they tell you all the odds, and you say, "Well, gonna do it anyway." And they just get scared. They're like, "Well, you can't do that." Like, "Yes, I can. I really can. In fact, I'm doing it." Next, it scares people. And then if they're wise, they'll understand that's the importance of life. Your importance is in the being, not in the outcoming. I don't know how to say it. Not in this idea that goals are important.
You're engaging in life, in the moment of now.
In the fight?
You are engaging in life, and the fight is between whether you're expressing your life or someone else's life. And on that note, we've reached the end of our hour.
Not that outcome, no.
And I'm Michael Lyons.
You are Michael Lyons, and I'm nobody. I didn't see that outcome at all. And thank you for listening.